Welcome to Whisperwood Stories. Today, we read 3 stories from r/letsnotmeet. Let's begin. Our first story is from No Career. Followed on the sketchy side of town. I've been on this sub for a couple years now. Had my own couple let's not meet moments, but for some reason, tonight, I just needed to share what happened. For context, I'm in school still and work for my family member on certain weekends at a local college selling concessions at the stadium. It's about once to twice a month, and the stadium is off towards the edge of town. It's Friday night. I had just gotten out of school, and I had to go straight to work. I get to work for 4 hours, half shift tonight. And my boss, my aunt, tells me we need more spoons for tomorrow's event. We sell ice cream, and these events have like 5,000 plus people at them. I say okay, I'll go grab them on my way home. The only store open with heavy-duty spoons is all the way on the other side of town, and I still wanted to go meet up with some friends and mess around. I decided to take the faster but more sketchy way around the outskirts of town. I live in a weather bipolar state. It snowed last night, but I figured the roads would be fine enough even if they weren't plowed. I take off to the store, and the first 5 minutes go by, and nothing is wrong. I haven't seen a single car or any buildings the entire time, but keep in mind, it's approaching 9 p.m., and I'm on the outskirts of town, and no one really takes this way, unless they really have to. All of a sudden, I see something in the corner of my eye, and it looks like a man. Roughly 5'8", I'd say, wearing shorts, t-shirt, and a backwards hat. He's in the ditch, walking in the snow, when it's 10 degrees out. My first thought is to pull over, but I'm on the phone with my mom at the time. She warns me not to, as some things have happened before in this town. A couple years ago, a college girl was kidnapped and found dead rolled up in a rug in 2014. I consider stopping, but for some reason, I tell myself not to. I wasn't really worried about anything. I'm a young dude driving a big pickup truck. Last type of person that anyone would want to harm. Right. I passed the man, going about 40 miles per hour. Like I said, roads aren't the best. I drove not even 500 feet past him, and immediately, a car that I did not see at all before turns on and pulls out of a field entrance off the road and starts to follow me. At first, I thought I was just focused on the man in the ditch and didn't see a road, and that's where they came from. But I later found out that there was no road there. Now again, I'm not super worried. I've watched my fair share of crime movies and read plenty of stories on this sub, and I didn't feel that it was a threat yet. I start to approach the town again and have to take some turns to get where I'm going. I turn left. The car turns left. I turn right. The car turns right. I go around a roundabout and skip my turn and go twice as no one else was there. Car follows. At this point, I start to worry a little, but maybe they just need to go to the store also. I pull up to a stop sign. I wasn't on the best side of town either, may I add, and I turn without my signal. The car follows. Now, at this point, I should have went straight to the police station, but I still didn't think much of it. I'm 2 miles from the store, where plenty of people will be. I take a few more turns and the car continues to follow me. I completely blew a stop sign at a non-busy intersection, and the car does a quick stop and go and catches up. At this point, I'm 2 turns to the store, so I'm still not worried. I turn into the store, and the car turns also. The store also has a gas station, so I pull there first to act like I was getting gas. The car sits off to the side of the road, in between the gas station and store, and just sits there. I wait about 10 minutes, and the car doesn't move. At this point, I start to get worried. I'm a young kid alone at night near the bad side of town. I call my friends I'm supposed to meet up with later on and give them the license plate number for worst case scenario. Then take off to the store. I cross the street and the car comes straight behind me. I'm freaking out on the phone, not knowing if I should call the cops or not. I go and park as close as possible to the store, and the car parks 3 rows behind me and a couple down. It's getting late at this point, and the store is closing soon. There's only a couple of others in the lot. I turn my truck back on and go park on the complete opposite side of the lot, get out, and I completely bolt inside the store. I'm not super overweight, but I'm not skinny either. I'm about 6'1" at 200. Who would want anything to do with me? I get spoons, take my time in the store. I go to call my friends to walk back outside, and my phone is dead. I look out the sliding doors, and suddenly there's a white van next to my driver's side. Looks like no one's in it, but the back windows are covered, and it's running. Big red flag. I run to customer service and explain everything, but they think I'm just some young kid messing around. At the time, I didn't see the original follow car, but no way in hell I'm going outside with that van next to my truck. After waiting what seemed like hours, 30 minutes, the van pulls forward and the original car appears from the side of the building. You can from the in-store Starbucks window. They talked, then both drove off. I wait another 10 minutes and dash outside. I speed to my friend's house, and when I get there, I park in his garage. My one buddy asked why there's a big orange mark on my tire, and my heart sinks. When I was inside, the follow car must have marked my tire. After inspecting the rest of the truck, we find a small pipe dropped in the bed of my truck surrounded by snow. It was about 2 inches wide, and I'd say about 18 inches long, wrapped in duct tape. It was not mine. I was alone, no phone, scared, in a part of town I'm not familiar with. I try to laugh it off, but now that everyone's asleep, I can't help but think what would have happened if I walked outside. I've always been sort of ego-boosted on the fact that I'm a chubby fat dude that no one would want to mess with. But after tonight, I realized that anyone can be targeted. So, creepy men who followed me all night and waited by my truck, let's not meet. Our second story is from Anonymous. Didn't realize someone was in my house. Sorry in advance for the long post. I just need to get this off my chest. My fiancé, 27 male, and I, 23 female, are soon to be married and are remodeling an old family home. We started working on the house around 2 or 3 months ago. My fiancé bought a bunch of tools to use on the house to renovate. The house has been sitting with nobody in it for over a year. Keep in mind, The house is located in a fairly rural area. A few houses and trailers here and there, but not too much traffic. We have a rodent problem and have been setting traps to catch them. 3 weeks ago, my fiancé went to check on the traps and we had a rat that was alive. Long story short, he didn't want to take care of it, so he left. I got off work at 9 p.m. and went over to the house to take care of that rat. It was raining and my mom and brother came with me. I went to the back door and it was wide open and water was blowing into the house. I was pissed. I thought my fiancé had left the door open. I shut it and finished my business there. I asked my fiancé why he left the door open, and he claimed that he didn't. I called bullcrap and left it at that. It didn't occur to me that somebody had possibly made a quick getaway. Fast forward to today. My fiancé and I went to our house to throw a whole bunch of trash and stuff into the dumpster we rented. When we went inside, we immediately noticed that some things were missing. Drills, sanders, etc. We realized that they had been stolen. We call my mother-in-law to tell her about it. She says to make a police report. What scares me so much about this is that everything began to click with the rat trap incident. Somebody has been scoping us out. I would go to our house by myself on many occasions, and always had the creeps and felt watched. My little brother even remarked that he felt watched while we were gone. I noticed today that when I was there alone, my dog was acting very nervous and suspicious. She wasn't running and playing like she usually does, and didn't want me to go to the backyard or wooded area. I'm glad I trusted her and my gut feeling. I don't know if the thieves were there, but I'm glad that I didn't find out. We are currently in the process of installing cameras. This had to have been somebody that lives near us and can monitor how often we are there. So, to the person or people that broke into my unfinished home, let's not meet. Ever. Update. So, we did catch a car pulling in like it was scoping the place out. The people inside never got out, but they left. We asked a few of my fiancé's family members about it, and that was our detriment. One of them went and spread the word that we had cameras, and somebody in the neighborhood who owned the vehicle that we caught on camera slipped up and said that they already knew things had been stolen. Which to me is basically a confession, because we hadn't told anybody about the robbery until the incident with the car that we had caught on camera. So now more people than necessary know, and we probably won't catch the person who did it. We still turn the footage into the police though. Maybe they can dig up some background info. Our last story is from Peculiar Yellow. My coffee shop stalker. A little bit of background. I, 23 female, was 20 at the time. I moved in with my uncle in San Antonio, Texas, with the agreement that I didn't have to pay rent as long as I helped out with the chores and my cousins. I got a job at a super known coffee chain downtown, close to the touristy part of the area. We had a lot of regulars, a lot of homeless coming in and out. I felt relatively safe though, because I got to know the people there, and it was almost always a lot of foot traffic. I used to even take walks after work in the area, especially since I was super close to the Riverwalk. Skip to a couple of months into the job, and I was friends with everyone I worked with. We were all super close. On this particular day, it was one of my coworkers' last day. There was about 3 guys who had been in there almost all morning. They hadn't bought anything and were just hanging out, which was not unusual for my location. On my break, I decided to walk down to a nearby drugstore so I can get a farewells card, maybe a small gift for said coworker. I walked out and put my earphones in. Before I could press play, I hear the door open behind me and footsteps following behind. Whoever it was caught up to me and started walking beside me, matching my pace exactly. I turned to look, and it was one of the guys that had been there all morning. He was a bit taller than me and reminded me a lot of Lakeith Stanfield. He tried to ask for my number, and I kindly told him no. He persisted, and I, with a short temper, told him to screw off. He stopped and stared at me in surprise, as I don't look like someone who speaks up or would be rude. He stood there as I walked away, and by the time I went back, they were gone. I proceeded to tell my coworkers about the encounter, and we laughed it off. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. Every shift after that, he would already be there, just hanging out, or would walk in mid-shift. Sometimes it was somebody else, and sometimes by himself. I assumed he was just another homeless person because how else was he able to be around? My shifts were sporadic. Some days I opened, some days I closed, some days I worked mid, but it didn't matter. He was always there. At that point, I started feeling paranoid. I would always catch him staring in my direction. He never ordered anything, never talked to me, and luckily, wouldn't follow me. He would just sit there, watching me. I started mentioning it to my coworkers, and they started noticing it too. One of my team leaders would help me out by sending me to wash dishes in the back or organize the cooler. My coworkers would also try and place themselves to try and block me from his view. I started feeling uncomfortable at work. Sometimes when I closed, a coworker would walk me to my car before heading home themselves. Or if I didn't close, they would walk me to my car and turn around and head back to work. Then one day of him just staring, I was working the register that day. He walked up and ordered a water. I asked for his name for the order. I now had his first name, just in case. He took his water and sat down. I had mentioned him before to my manager, but because he hadn't really done anything, we couldn't do anything besides note it to the manager book. The next day, I worked with my manager. It was him, 2 other coworkers, and me. I told them that I had to go to the bathroom real quick. There were 2 bathrooms right next to each other, but sort of hidden from the coffee bar and register, and they weren't gender specific. I walked around the bar to the lobby area. I had to pass his table and walk down the lobby to get to the bathrooms. I noticed him getting up before going inside the bathroom. I sat down to do my business when someone rattled the knob. I shouted out that it was occupied, but whoever it was kept rattling the door until I finished. When I opened the door, no one was there, and walking back, I noticed him adjusting back into his chair. I was super freaked out and told my boss. He couldn't tell him anything because we had no proof that it was him. Later that shift, he got up and picked up a coffee from the pickup area. My boss assumed that he had ordered it and let him take it. I told him it wasn't, and that it wasn't even his name. My boss used this as an opportunity to tell him that if he does something like that again, he can't come back. The man apologized and actually stuck to the rules every day after that. He went back to just watching me. Cut to Valentine's Day. One of my team leaders and I would be scheduled to work certain Thursdays after close to deep clean the store. We would stay until 1 a.m. This was one of those Thursdays. We were almost done, and I had to clean the bathrooms as one of the last chores. I finished, and as I walked out of the bathroom, I see him peeking in with both hands, pressed to the window, eyes wide, just staring at me with this super intense look. I froze for a second, just staring back. I noticed on one of his palms that was pressed to the window, a purple foam heart. He doesn't move at all. I freak out and step back into the bathroom. I shout, "Hannah, Hannah, he's here, he's back." She barely hears me through the music we were blasting. Hannah was the team lead who would help me hide from him, so she knew the huge fear I had towards him. She walks towards the bathroom shouting back, "What are you saying? What's going on?" As soon as she gets close, she sees him. I told her again, "He's here, he's watching me." She started shouting through the window, "You need to leave. If you don't leave, we're calling the police." I step out a little to see if he'll leave, and he's ignoring her, and his eyes were fixated in my direction. I step back into the bathroom, and my lead continues to shout at him to leave and threatens him with the police. About 5 minutes pass, and he realizes that I'm not stepping out until he leaves, so he does. The next day, my lead and I told my manager that I wanted to file a police report. He tells me no, to wait until he talks to his boss. He shows up again that day, but I was only there to talk to my manager and leave right after. When I got home, a friend convinced me to call the cops. So I text my boss that I don't care what he or his boss says, I'm scared, and I'm gonna file that report. I dial 911 and tell them a summarized version. They tell me they're gonna send someone to where I live to take the official report. The 2 officers were so nice and supportive. I told them my whole story and how my boss didn't feel the need to get the cops involved since I wasn't harmed. The officers told me that I should have called right away and defend me, saying that they can get him for harassment. I thank them, and they tell me that if he shows up, to dial 911 so they can take him in for trespassing and harassing. I think that day, my manager banned him and warned him because he never showed up to the coffee shop again. A few months later, when I was comfortable again with downtown, I went out with some friends to walk around. We were close to where I worked, and as we round a corner, I see him, so I ducked into a little corner store and my friends follow. I told them I saw him, and they kept an eye out. Once he was out of view, we left the store, and that was the last time that I saw him. So, creepy coffee shop stalker, let's not meet again. Thank you for listening to Whisperwood Stories. If you enjoyed, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe down below. Do you have a story that you'd like me to read here? Consider commenting or sending it to whisperwoodsubmissions@gmail.com. The stories in this video were read and may have been slightly altered with individual authors' permissions. Thank you again for listening, and be sure to check out the original Reddit posts. Don't let the shadows get too close.